Have a roll call, please.
John Righeimer.
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Tom Duffy. Steve Carrienan. Randy Newman. You have a quorum.
Okay.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
The agenda is set. Public comments. Do we have anybody here or online for public comments? Is there anybody online that would like to say anything during public comments? Okay, we'll move on. Consider approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The Sawyer County Agricultural Fair Association report. I don't think anybody's here. We don't have written comments. I am going to reach out to them. And I can understand people are busy, but just say, if there is something going on, that they shoot me an email. We can read that off to see what's going on. But we all know the fair is coming up. I guess, was that August?
It's August, and then on Saturday night they had a fundraiser. It was a lawnmower race fundraiser.
We can always rely on Stacy to give us that report. See.
It was last night. I wasn't there, but it looked like there was a lot of people from the social media post.
Okay, the University of Wisconsin Extension Department report.
Morning. I went ahead and handed out this handy dandy flyer to just remind you, maybe you know some folks who would be interested in summer camp. So Donna is kicking that off. We are, have for a while now, combined camps with Rusk County, and it's at Trails End Camp, and always a great time. So if you know anyone who's interested, registration ends this week. So make sure you reach out. And then on the flip side of that, you'll see some, the Olympians in the kindergarten to second grade. So sometimes we call those the Clover Buds. And we always call those the Clover Buds. So if you know of anyone else that's interested in those opportunities for a version of camp, feel free to help us get the word out about that. I also included in just what I sent you today, some things I pulled from what we call our recording portal. So it captures some of the information that other educators, other people, other state specialists around who are serving Sawyer County in a unique way. And so it doesn't always make it to our quarterly reports when we talk about our local educators doing information or sharing information. But I do want to make sure you get that information. As you read through it, you'll see a lot of help towards cranberries. And if it says location, geography served is local location, that's Sawyer County. I pulled it specifically for Sawyer County. So that's the information I have to share with you today. Okay, great.
Sherry, Hayward Lakes Visitors and Convention Bureau.
Good morning. So some of the things that we've got going on, economic impact numbers aren't coming out till tomorrow. I have them, but I cannot say a word. So I will get that out to you tomorrow. Also, I don't know if some of you have been around long enough to remember that they used to have they're reintroducing the film tax incentive bill. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day. Okay, so it was when I first started. Had been the 90s, early 90s. Yeah, so yeah, they might need props, or they might need a hotel or a house or something for a movie. And then you can get on that list, and it's to bring more movies to Wisconsin. So
Duluth's done a great job with that.
I know Duluth has
That-
really taken off the last few years, yes.
That is why the state changed it so that Wisconsin doesn't have to
Some of that.
compete with Duluth. Yeah.
There we go. So anyway, we'll keep our eye on that one. And then I wanted to talk about ITVEC. I know that last month we kind of talked about some of the different committees and stuff that you guys pay for or are involved in. And ITVEC is something that you pay for. It's $3,000. And then you appoint whoever you want to represent you, and that is me. It has been me for a while. You can pick anybody you want. It's a 2-year term. But I just wanted to give you more information because I was talking to my executive committee and we kind of realized, you guys probably don't realize how much time I actually spend on ITVEC. The WCA does pay for my mileage to get to Spooner and back, but all my time the VCB is paying for. So if I have any projects like these, we put these together and I handed them out to you. We have the outdoor and trail guide that we do every other year. And then the other year, then we do the corridor map for ATVing and snowmobiling. And then each county takes their turn. So I think when was the last time I did, well, maybe I didn't write that down, but I've taken the turn where I've been the lead on each of these for, so we take turns. So it's like every 10 years, I have to be in charge of something like that. But I spend about 8 to 10 hours a month. We do social media posts, we do ads, and we meet once a month. So just want to kind of let you guys know that that is something the VCB is paying for, that you guys are benefiting from. Let's see. And then I kind of, just to let you know that I know it's called ITBEC, International Trade, Business and Economic Council is the real name, but we do advertise under Travel Northwest Wisconsin. So we do have a nice marketing name to remember. And then the fishing opener was in Burnett County, and the Sawyer County basket was the highest bid. So felt kind of proud that we brought in the most money for the fundraiser. Next year's going to be in Rice Lake, and then the 60th, I keep telling you guys, will be here. The last time we did it was for the 55th, which was in 2021. And then Mad Dog and Merrill were here again. They were supposed to come during Berkey, but we didn't have the snow, so they came back and they did a summer program, and they did it on fishing. And then some of the free PR that we've been getting on our area. And I was just talking to Randy here before the meeting, and he was telling me how many ATVs he saw in the area. And my brother lives in Duluth, and he was down in Iowa this past weekend, and I talked to him yesterday. And he's like, Sherry, we're at this gas station in Minnesota getting gas, and there's all these ATVers, and they were talking about how excited they were to get to Hayward. They'd never been there to ATV. So he's like, had to let you know that. I said, perfect timing. I got a meeting tomorrow. So anyway, what we're doing is working, and thank you.
And we got the Muskie Fest coming up, right?
Muskie Fest, 2
Yep.
weeks.
Exciting.
Guys,
Yep.
question.
Yes. Annie?
Sales tax, do you get those reports quarterly from or do the municipalities forward the funds? Like, do you have a picture of where we're at year to date?
Sales tax?
Or excuse me, room tax, sorry.
Oh, room tax.
Yep.
Room tax. The room tax checks that I have received for first quarter are down. We're down about 10,000.
How many percent is that? Just, do you know?
What percentage is that?
Yeah,
It's really not that bad. It's like 5%. I think.
okay. Cause I was just gonna, we just got sales tax and we're overall for the year through May are up now. Again, so we had 1 month down, which really I think everybody's somewhat surprised, but
But that's only the room tax that I collect for, because I know I talked to Chris from the Hayward Chamber of Commerce, and their room tax was up first quarter. But some of the hotels and stuff still had the hockey tournaments, and they had people who were here traveling for work and stuff. So they were up, but the 3 townships that I've collected from so far were down.
Stacy?
And then Sherry, when you were talking about that film tax, did you say they have to sign up for something? Or so how do businesses do that? Are you guys going to put out a PR?
Yeah,
Okay.
because if they have a movie that comes to town and they're like, we need a tractor,
Mhm.
then I would blast that out to our members. Yeah, we're looking for a tractor.
Okay, but what if it's in the area? Like if they are, if they're having a event in Duluth, like he was saying, Duluth is getting a lot of film. Is that something that we can piggyback on from an hour away, or you don't know that?
Oh, I don't know that. Let me dig a little bit on that.
Because that would be a nice area to,
Like if they took a
Pursue.
day trip to Hayward in the movie,
that would be wonderful.
that would be. Let me follow up on that. That's a good question. Thanks.
Right, there you go. Thank you. Economic Development Corporation report. Is there anybody online for that?
You
Or
missed Northwest Regional Planning.
Oh, I'm sorry, Northwest Regional Planning. We're just zipping along here. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. Sheldon Johnson with Northwest Regional Planning Commission. Just thought I'd come here today and give a quick update, and I'll stick around for the BEAD process because I've got some input into that one as well. But I handed out a handout for all of you, and I provided it to the county clerk. If she needs a PDF of that, I can do that for your minutes as well. One of our staff members, Megan Motter, just recently got married. Her last name now is Sorensen. So I know many of you know her. She's been with our team now for about 2 years and really heads up our water resource division section. So we're looking to try to grow that program, and just thought I'd mention it to you. I know you have a lot of lakes in the county. So the handout that I provided you, I'm not going to go over it word for word, but she's working with the Quiet Lakes Group to do some aquatic invasive species investigation and assisting a consultant do some treatment to that water body. The map that's identified on that handout, you can see the green area. Those are the areas that were recently treated with a herbicide to try to reduce that EWM for that purposes. So anyways, that's just one of the programs that we're working with. She's also working with Long Lake Lake Association in Washburn County. Really kind of their pseudo executive director, if you will, really working with them on all their management, it's Monday morning, right? Apparently, apologize for that. Their Facebook page and their website and all that information. So she's written a couple grants to the DNR. They're currently implementing a planning grant for that program. Just I'll talk about BEAD later on the agenda, so I'll stick around for that. I did want to mention our upcoming annual meeting that we have coming up on June 26th. It's open and available to all county board members. You should be getting invites for that or have already perhaps seen an RSVP. We got a couple of speakers for that. We do have a couple gentlemen from Wisconsin DOT traveling up to talk about the WEVI. It's the Wisconsin Electric Vehicle Initiative. There were a number of grants that were awarded just recently in the last couple of weeks for electric power stations distributed across the region. So they're going to talk about that and talk a little bit more about WEVI across the state in the next application run that's coming up. And then John Will from Northwoods Technical College is going to be making a presentation on what some of their initiatives are for the Northwoods Tech College. And then we'll have other speakers as well. And that'll be held at Lakewoods Resort this year on June 26th at 9:30 in the morning, lunch at noon. And then lastly, we continue to work with the RIGA here in the extension office for the household hazardous waste event that's coming up on September 25 from 2 to 6 at the fairgrounds. So that's my report. Thanks.
Now economic development, but nobody's online for that.
No, nobody's online. I missed last month's meeting because we had the county training. Last time I talked to Adam, we're still working on, the incubator space that's out at Travel Center with LCO, and then a little bit of discussion on housing. I guess one thing I can follow up on housing is that there was a package of legislation passed in the Wisconsin legislature last year that gave some resources to WIDA for communities to tap into. And the first round is already complete, but there's going to be multiple rounds. So I had asked our contact at WIDA to get some information on that, because it does have revolving loan funds for communities to access. Ms. Hessel had forwarded me some comments that Senator Quinn made about second-story apartments in the downtown areas. And so they're actually going to have a session for some of us on Monday, a week from today. I think Sheldon just got that email as well for Northwest Wisconsin. Adam's going to be on there as well to help, really it's Hayward. The city would have to probably tap into it. And the one caveat there is that you have to have updated your zoning regulations as well as your comp plan to include some provisions for housing and affordable housing to access those funds, which is probably the first thing that they would need to do. So,
The county or Hayward?
well, most likely this really should be the city, I would think.
Okay.
It does say that counties are eligible to apply, but based on the nature of the funds, it's for there's infrastructure funds and second story, residential over commercial. I think really would be the city,
Yeah.
City of Hayward or Village of Winter, that would be the ones most likely. If they
Okay.
don't though, I think we should jump in on it maybe if we can.
Okay. Thank you. Library updates, information was included in the packet. Are there any questions on that? Motorized trail and non-motorized trail report. Kathy couldn't be here, but she provided a written report which was not included, so I will read that. Starts with, as you know, on May 16th, the County Board of Supervisors voted to approve opening all county roads outside of the LCO reservation to ATV use. Myself, our Alliance Committee, our Sawyer County business owners, and our ATV community thank all of you for your support and vote on this project. We feel it is a step in the right direction for the good of the county with its popular and beautiful motorized trail system. The routes are not legal to ride on until they are properly signed, though. The county ordered ATV signage about 3 weeks ago and is expecting the order any day now. After the county is signed, the Alliance will announce on our Sawyer County Snowmobile and ATV Alliance Facebook page, and I'll put in the paper that the roads are now legal to ride on. We're looking forward to continued success in bringing motorized sports enthusiasts to our area. I recently read a few of our trail counters, which count ATV traffic, and we are down in numbers just slightly from the same time last year, but not by much. Perhaps the extremely wet May has something to do with it, or riders are simply taking a different trail than the ones we monitor. Personally, I have seen a lot of riders here in our area on the trails. Regardless of the reason for the slight dip, we are still seeing an average of over 80 riders per day on the trails monitored. The busiest day of the week are Fridays through Sunday, but many hits are recorded every day of the week, with Monday second in line to Friday for a weekday riding. The most popular times to ride are Friday through Sunday, a large spike beginning at 8 a.m. and slightly increasing throughout the noon to 2 p.m. time frame and not dropping off until after 4 p.m. After 4 p.m., the hits trickle down gradually to very few riding after 8 p.m. according to the hits recorded. We will read and monitor the trail counters over summer and hopefully gather data for report late summer. Thank you, Kathy LaRue. Right. And then Ben Pop provided, or maybe Tom provided the update. You want to go over the update, Tom, for a silent?
Well, with the bike races past Saturday, all the epic bike race, there were 1,600 bikers. The Lumberjack World Championships are coming on, sponsored by, again, the Berkey. They're having, again, Charlie Behrens, who's a humorist. He was here 2 years ago, and there's a sellout crowd, so he'll be back again this year. And the dock at the Lumberjacks is being replaced. That was rotted from too much use. And there are over 6,000 Berkeys registrants already for next year. Now all we worry about is snow. You're in charge of that, Stacy. And the grand opening for the new community center is going to be on August 17th. So that's kind of the news from
Excellent.
Berkey world.
Thank you. Broadband update. Andy?
I'll let Sheldon go first if he wants to talk about BEAD. Lynn, let me in. All right, thanks.
All right, so just wanted to give update a little bit on the BEAD process that we're administering on behalf of Visions Northwest. So just kind of step back about a year and about 3 months ago, the Public Service Commission, PSC, released an RFP for assistance to counties, tribes, for all of you to look at doing a BEAD planning process. Undefine what that is. Sawyer County and 8 other counties in Bad River opted to join a group application through Visions Northwest, which is a partner organization of the Planning Commissions under the Wisconsin Business Innovation Corporation. So that organization received 9 county and 1 tribal funding amount, about $200,000. Crystal Rohde and I have been working on that process internally to the organization. We hadn't done a lot over the last year, and that was very well known to our board of directors. as it related to our staff capacity was maxed at that point in time. We're starting now to look at what our next steps will be. There was an event May 1st that was held here in Hayward that was a talk about permitting and construction as the $1 billion that the state of Wisconsin has to roll out here in the next couple of months on what that would look like. So as part of that process, maybe this is something that Andy was going to bring up a little bit later here, is that so right now the Public Service Commission, or actually has just completed on May 29th, the first 30-day review of those maps or those locations that are underserved and unserved for broadband. So 25 up, 3 down is the threshold for underserved. And then those that don't have are just unserved. That process was really an opportunity for local units of governments and providers for the most part, to look at those maps and say, yes, we agree with the fact that they don't have service, so they're underserved. Or perhaps the provider could contest that location as saying that it is served well, or they think that it's underserved or unserved versus underserved. So they've gone through that process. The PSC right now has 30 days to review all those public comments that were provided. And then there's another 30-day opportunity for providers to contest the decision that the PSC made. So it's about a 90-day window upon which the maps that the Public Service Commission has on their webpage for review will be had. It's expected that after that period of time, so we're estimating somewhere in September, October, the Public Service Commissions will be opening up an application for providers to make application to them, to the PSC, for dollars to do implementation of broadband fiber and or wireless in your communities across the state of Wisconsin. We don't know what that application looks like specifically. However, at the May 1st meeting, they did mention that counties will have an opportunity to weigh in on potential applications that are going to be submitted by providers in your respective counties. In that role, the PSC identified that right now in their draft application form, they're allocating, I think it's 5 to 7 points, specifically for counties to pass resolutions in support of this broadband provider versus this broadband provider. It gives you an opportunity to look at who's provided you service well currently, and perhaps those firms that haven't done so well in the past in your county, and again, across the state of Wisconsin. Those resolutions have to be approved by the county board. It's not in the form of a letter. It actually has to be a resolution that the county board will submit. I'm sure Andy's been working with his county administrative crew across the region. We are also looking to try to find a draft resolution. We've been in conversation with Nick Trimner over in Price County to try to see what he has for some information, because we were led to believe that he had received a draft resolution, but he's working on one currently. So what we're proposing to do, at least as part of Visions Northwest, is be one of those resources for the county or the counties across our region that are part of our organization that are doing the BEAD planning, to look at either helping be a coordinator with the providers and bring that information to you. But more importantly, we're going to be looking for information from the county on what is your process for bringing resolutions through the right protocols. We're not sure what this window is going to look like for the PSC application to come forth. It could be a 30-day announcement where they have to be in and out. And we know that's not going to work well with counties, because you have a process. There's usually a committee, 1 or 2 committees perhaps, to bring that resolution before you. So we're going to be working on that, trying to template out for these IPs, service providers, kind of that what we know on the ground in terms of processes at the county level. So that's the one thing that we're going to be working on. We'll be sending out letters and information to the providers to have us as a resource as well, that we can work with you and the counties on anything that they're going to be looking at doing. One of the questions in the application also identifies how well those providers are coordinating with you. Now, we've already heard intel that several of the counties in the region, and perhaps Sawyer, have already had several meetings with the providers that are looking at doing an application in the future. They're already talking to the local units of government. So they're going to, when they write their application, they're going to have to outline and lay out how they've engaged with local units of governments at the local level. That's going to get them the most points in the application for that. So maybe Andy and others in the county have had conversations with them, but we know that that's one of the very important things that PSC has done is what is your level of engagement, your coordination, and the conversation for that at the local level. So that's the PSC broadband update that I want to provide, and hopefully it lays in well with some of the conversation that Andy and others and Steve have had at the broadband committee level here at the county.
As far as that resolution goes, make sure I understand it. So there is possibly an issue that because 30-day window, we would scramble to try to, we're talking about referral here, right? I mean, it's a resolution to we recommend or refer, choose.
Yeah,
To the board.
and that, I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy.
So yeah, different from when we've supported applications in the past, we've kind of, well, I think going back 3-4 years, you had a broadband committee that kind of worked with the providers and you funded some of those. And the last couple of years, we've just, without having money in the project, we've just supported all of them as they've applied for PSC funds. Now you're going to have to, resolution through the county board to basically pick somebody to recommend, especially if there's overlap, if they're looking at the same territories. Based on what I know today, and I think I talked about this a little bit last month, I don't know that we have a process, but this is the committee that request is going to come to, since now they're saying the county has to make a recommendation to go along with the application. But based on the conversations I've had with our usual providers, they're coordinating with themselves somewhat. So I don't think we're going to see much overlap. Like, they're not going to be competing in the same areas for funding. Because what
Our recommendation would be somewhat less important.
somewhat less important and somewhat less, I would say controversial, but like when we first heard about this, it's like you're essentially going to pick winners and losers.
It's a choice of one.
Right. Yeah, at least that's the way it's playing out right now. And yes, maybe not on a committee level, but am I talking to Novato and Mosaic and BevCom? Yes, because we're already partnered up with them on projects that are ongoing that we've helped fund. So they're communicating with us as to where they're at and a couple of them, at least what their plans are for BEAD. They're like everybody else is waiting to see what the actual rules are that come out for the BEAD process. Because the state had to submit 2 things to the federal FCC. One was the BEAD maps and how they were going to review those and go with changes. And the second thing they submitted that they haven't heard back on is the actual process on how to distribute funds. Am I talking correct? Yeah. So we're waiting to.
The other thing too is, it may not be a pick one or the other firm for a provider. What we understand that the PSC is going to do is they're going to take Sawyer County and they're going to put big blocks across the landscape. And providers now can kind of pick and choose what road or what route they're going to go on. This BEAD process is going to restrict providers to bid on, I'm going to say bid, but not really bid dollar value, but bid on this blockchain here and here. And it's going to be like a Lego map. It's kind of how they described it. So it's going to be Sawyer County kind of cut up into pieces. And those underserved, unserved are going to be the target application for that block. So Mosaic could apply for it, and or Novato could apply for it too, and they're overlapping. That's really where you're going to come into play is like, what are those overlapping companies? Yep, for sure. And then it's going to be, your resolution could be for 3 separate companies that don't have any overlap, and you could support all 3 of them, and they'd all get the maximum points based on that, if that follows through in the application process.
I pulled up, I was going to use this for the next part of the discussion, but this gives you a little idea of what the BEAD maps look like. So everything that's in yellow has already been covered and is considered served and will not be eligible, most likely for BEAD dollars. The green are considered unserved or underserved, so they would be eligible for BEAD. But when you look at the map, if you can kind of make out the teal colored underlay, the kind of boxed out areas, okay, that area all have funding and committed. So they have funds in process, like the town of Draper has a PSC grant to work with Gig Fire. So those will probably all turn yellow. Down in the south, it's BevCom has money that we're part of that project. They're putting fiber into those households, so those will not be BEAD eligible. Mosaic is kind of in the,
Lake right now, they're doing a big job.
yeah, they're doing Stone, and Stone Lake is already covered. That's already yellowed out on our map. And they're continuing up to the north in the town of Bass Lake and on the west side of, can't remember the name of that lake.
Is there a time when we'll all be yellow? What's
That's the
time?
goal.
And that large part in the middle is, of course, the reservation, correct?
Yep,
So-
and we're gonna talk about that next part, second.
Each grade, that's all forest.
Yeah, I mean, if the green, the dots, I mean, all those yellows and greens are actually dots. And that's what they call the BSLs, the broadband service locations. And so, yeah, if there's not a dot, there really isn't something there to serve, at least not according to the PSC.
The green in that area, I guess this goes on population.
Yep. Moose Lake is a Novato project. Novato's coming down from Bayfield. And that kind of that teal snake goes all the way down through Winter. And they'll start angling over to Price County. In Price County, you can see the yellow. Was formerly Price County Telephone, which is now Novato. That's already served. So that's where last month the numbers were, according to the PSC, there's 17,000 in some BSL locations. And when we're done with everything that's been completed or committed, we'll be down around 5,000 left to go. But I got calls after we talked last month. People watch the meetings. So I got a couple phone calls from people in the town of Round Lake. You know, they're on a certain road that has almost no service, and they want to know what they can do to. Well, that, and we've got people we've talked to that have Starlink, and that's working really well. The next part of the agenda will go into some options that we're working on as well. But that's kind of how the county looks, and I know at least one of the local providers is preparing themselves to apply for BEAD funds, but really they're waiting to see what the details are. We've talked to a couple other companies that have locations in the county, and we don't expect that they're going to be real active in the BEAD process, in the BEAD funds.
And then Andy's probably mentioned you too, as well as it relates to time. So the applications are going to come out perhaps yet this calendar year. They'll be reviewed. Because they're all federal dollars, they're all going to require different permitting processes and different levels of requirements with these dollars, perhaps than there was for the state dollars that were submitted previously. I think they're looking at about full build out somewhere about 2029, if I remember that kind of end date. So it's going to be a long journey yet. It's not going to be a quick turn the key and it's on, but it will be a process for sure. So I'll take a seat and just contribute to the conversation where applicable. Thanks.
Item B then, so trying to think about the best way to explain this. So two things I want to show you. One is the radio proposal that we're looking at through public safety. So if you haven't heard, this is a conversation of public safety that our public safety network is not adequate. It's not where we want it to be as far as giving officers and EMS and fire the appropriate amount of radio coverage. And so we changed providers at the beginning of the year, gave them the task of assessing where we were and what we have. They did that. They had some recommendations just to kind of stabilize that system. And they've come back and said, really, our tower sites aren't in the place they need to be, and our hardware is essentially out of date. And if we want to get to having the 90% or 95% portable coverage, we need to make some changes. So we asked them to come back with a proposal on rebuilding our network. And they indicated early on in that we'd have a couple new tower sites at least that would be needed, maybe even 3 of them. And the estimated cost was $2 to $2.5 million. And so I'll show you that proposal. So when we started getting into that and understanding there's new tower sites, I guess I don't think Sawyer County ever took a look at it a couple of years ago, but there has been a company out working with counties, primarily to the east of us and the southeast of us, that they come in and build fiber networks and put towers on them. And then they make those networks available to the county to use for their purposes, most likely public safety. in this common scenario is that they build a 300-foot tower and they give the county like the 200 to 250-foot area on the tower to do what you want to do with it. So we asked, and that company's Bug Tussle, we engaged with them and asked them to work, take a look at what we were doing and see if there was a way to partner up. But that's all really just happened in the last couple months. Lynn, do you want to click on the radio, the Sawyer account, that one? So I just want to run through this with you. So this is what we looked at on Thursday. So GenCom is our radio provider. They gave this total presentation, but keep on going down. So this is what we have. We have a simulcast system, which means when the radio communications come out from our dispatch, all the towers broadcast it so everybody hears it. We have a digital channel that primarily is law enforcement. Our EMS use analog, and then we also are the backbone for paging. So you may have heard some complaints from a couple fire departments that they can't get pages. That has to do with the ability of our radio system to get them into places where there's maybe a little more remote. It's redundant, and then when you put a message out, and then there's a way for that communications to come back. It can be either on microwave, which it is. Microwave is through the air, which it is now, or fiber. Keep on going. So this is their first recommendation on tower sites. So we're already on a Hayward site, which is out on Radio Hill off of County B. That is, we're on a Dairyland Power Tower, and they're on our land, so that's part of the agreement with being located on county land. And then we're also on the Hayward Water Tower, and that's somewhat important because there's a lot of buildings in Hayward, schools, courthouse. It's as close as access we can get to make sure we get inside the building. And the recommendation is 4 new sites. One would be on the LCO radio tower, the WOJB tower, and then tower in Birchwood, one in Meteor, and one out in Loretta. Birchwood, there's a tower there Mosaic owns that they felt we could get on. Meteor originally was the DOT tower, but that is full. We can't get on that. And Loretta would be a brand new tower. Keep on going. So this is the technology. I'm not going to get into that. Keep going. So this is, scroll up a little more. So this is digital portable coverage. What a portable radio is the radio that's on the individual or person's holding. Mobile would be like in the car, but we want to get to 95% portable coverage. So you can see this proposal would be, the original proposal for this would be, the blue is good. The blue means it's covered. So that shows you the outdoor, indoor coverage with that configuration. Keep on going. This is analog, a little bit less coverage, but still pretty good. Still losing the northeast and southeast portions of the county. And this is the paging. This is, I didn't pull up what we have now, but it's a lot less coverage than this. So just to give you, this shows you the most likely tower sites. So with their original configuration, the purple is the Hayward Tower, green is the radio LCO, the radio station tower, Birchwood, the orange, Meteor, the red, and then the new tower that would be in Loretta would be that brownish green color. So this is option 2, and this is after we introduced Bug Tussle to GenCom and asked them to ask for a proposal from Bug Tussle. So I'll go into a full Bug Tussle after this, but what Bug Tussle is they come in and build a fiber ring. They build their own towers. Like they said, that the county use it. They're primarily a internet phone company. They sell service. They also manage cell phone tower sites across the state. So these tower sites they would build would be eligible for us to use, but the real reason they're building them is they then lease them to cell phone companies. So there's more cell phone coverage, and they sell fixed wireless broadband. So people can get if you're not already on a fiber, Starlink's an option, but you could also subscribe to them for fixed wireless broadband to their sites. So there's still this proposal that GenCom was using the Bug Tussle sites, still uses the Hayward and Hayward Water Tower, still would rely on us being able to get on the LCO radio tower. I should say that we have not had that conversation yet. There have been historic discussions that LCO has made that available. We just made contact last week and need to look at if there's room on the tower and what are the contingencies. But then the other 3 sites, Wooddale is down in the southwest portion of the county, Meadowbrook in the south along Highway 27, and then Winter. The Wooddale and Meadowbrook sites are already gone through our county zoning. They're not built, but they have been permitted through one of Bug Tussle's affiliate companies. And then Winter would be a new site. Keep on going. So this shows under this configuration the coverage. So it does have a gap right now in the southeast portion of the county relative to the the other tower sites that GenCom had proposed. Keep going. Again, still that gap in the southeast. Keep going. And then this is the analog paging. So really the gap with this is the southeast, and that has more to do with the Winter Tower where Bug Tussle proposed it versus where GenCom had their tower site. So based on the meeting last week, though, the Public Safety Committee priority is that we need to get this, if we want to go partner with Bug Tussle and GenCom together, we need to address that southeast portion and get the coverage there, because right now it wouldn't be there under this configuration.
Loretta instead of Winter then.
What's that?
Push that to Loretta instead of.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we got through the first meeting with Bug Tussle and GenCom a week before last week to get to this proposal. So now it's going back with both of those to see if there's any flexibility in the tower sites. The other thing that came up that we have not talked about is just across into Price County, from Connors Lake into that direction. So Price County is looking at a Bug Tussle partnership as well and a network around their county. One of their tower sites would be inside the Price County, but down in the Connors Lake area, roughly. So, maybe.
Right by the old fire tower there or something.
Yeah, I think I don't know how many miles into Price County it is, but it's in that area where if we were to get on that tower, it might fill in our deficiency there. And this shows kind of the same thing, that the likely tower that would support each area. So you can see one thing, we're still just opened up the conversation with the radio station about getting on their tower, but that's a big component of both proposals. You can see how much red that tower covers. It's a taller tower, but then you can see the other one, the Wooddale, Meadowbrook, Winter, what each of those supports. Hayward and the Hayward Water Tower are pretty much the same under both proposals. So price summary, option 1, with just doing a GenCom project with building our own tower sites and managing those. The total cost is 2.4 million estimate. You can see the towers are a little over $1 million just of themselves. We would own those couple towers. And then we'd also have the microwave backhaul, which is an increased cost. And then under option 2, the hardware costs are the same. The backhaul is a lot less because we wouldn't have to do microwave backhaul. All of those new towers would be connected by fiber through the Bug Tussle program. So we save some money there. And then we still have the cost of the shelters at those tower sites for our equipment. So you don't lose all the tower cost. Then you have the Hayward and Hayward Water Tower. So it lowers it by $900,000 in the upfront cost to build. I think there's also some savings long-term in that we don't own the towers.
We don't have to do no maintenance.
Maintenance, all that stuff. Now, as was brought up last week too, there would be the option of, if we go option 1 and build our own towers and we own them, then we might have some capability of leasing out space or doing that. And then there's a question if that's the business we want to be in, or let somebody else do that and save the cost. And this just shows the benefits of the Hayward Water Tower and its importance to being on there within the city of Hayward. All right, so that's the radio system. Public Safety wants to continue on. They asked us to get together and keep working with GenCom and Bug Tussle to see if we can get the combined proposal to get the same coverage, to get the whole county covered the way we want it to. And then the map, I'm going to grab it and share the screen again, this other one. So the one map I was showing you before, you can see this is the Bug Tussle proposal for where they would string fiber. And it gets to their, the Meadowbrook site down on 27 would be a tower site. And then they'd have other towers up by Winter. They'd also they'd have more towers up than what we would be using because we don't need one in Moose here, or Moose Lake, but they would put one there. They would put another one kind of in the middle. I'm gonna say kind of by the intersection of, what is that, CC and N, down in that area. To fill in, so if you remember all these green households in the middle that are not already covered, they would fill in a lot of that area with a fixed wireless solution. So, in the way the Bug Tussle project is structured, we would not have to put any money into it. We don't own it. We don't put any money into it, but you do extend your borrowing capacity. So they've given us an estimate of, I think it's the worst case scenario of $16 million that it's going to cost for them to put that fiber in, to build those tower sites. And so counties extend their borrowing capacity. Fond du Lac County is the lead county. So we essentially transfer that borrowing capacity to Fond du Lac. They issue the debt. Bug Tussle uses the money, builds the network. And then every year we get a payback. I guess maybe payback's the wrong word, but we get like a incentive payment of, it's like $40,000 to $50,000 to start with. And then as the debt gets paid down, we get a little bit less every year as payment for using our borrowing capacity. So we don't put any money in, we extend our borrowing capacity, but there is risk in that if everything fails and the company goes bankrupt, that debt, whatever's left on that 16 million, would become our responsibility. But we also get, not that it'd be even swap. So the risk is there that we'd have to incur the debt then and service it. But then we also get all of the infrastructure as well. So we get the fiber and the towers, and could find another provider to operate it or operate it ourselves. So I don't think SUR considered this when they first offered this to counties. A lot of other counties looked at it. Some jumped on. I think they're in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 counties that have gone ahead with this or in the process of accepting or going ahead with it. Like Price County is going to decide this week if they're going ahead with it. But it made sense as long as we needed tower sites, I thought, to take a look at this option. And the other side benefits to me as a county, primary benefit to us is the tower sites and that infrastructure. The side benefits to the county and the residents is that you'll have more cell phone towers, more cell phone service, access to fixed wireless broadband if you don't have a good connection already. And I think there's benefit to just having that fiber put in the county because they can work with other local providers to give them access to that fiber that they can use to do fiber to the home still. So timeline wise, like I said we have to go back and work on the public safety network to make that work, to see if we can make it work. Bug Tussle, because of all the counties that they pool them together for next year's projects, they need a resolution from us in July, by the end of July, saying that we're interested in moving ahead, and then final decision by the end of August, so that we'd be a part of the next bonding pool that they'll do with Fond du Lac County for next year.
So we gotta look at a resolution by next month.
Yeah, next month's meeting, yeah.
Do you have testimonies from the other counties, the other 20 counties?
Yeah, I'm working in something right. I've talked to them, some of them myself, I know. But yeah, actually, it's more than just that. We want the full contracts and make sure we look through all that.
I guess I'm blown away by the fiber cost per mile compared to what I'm familiar with. This looks to be about 3 times what we were looking at with ARPA a few years ago.
I think that's just the cost of doing business.
Well,
Yeah, and what, can you, I'll stop sharing so we can pull that up on the screen.
it's
You want to go back?
$9.5 million for 115 miles of fiber. It's 82,500 per mile. It just seems excessive, but
Let's see here. Here you go. Yeah, I'll put that up on the screen. This is what they've given us to this point for the project budget. So this shows the tower construction, the last mile connections, and then fiber cost is 9.4 million, tower construction 675, and the equipment cost of 567. So that's 11.2, and then the interest, issuance, funding of debt services 4.7. So I'll ask some more questions on the cost of fiber and how they're getting into that number.
Would there be some overlap with that fiber you're saying too, with like Mosaic and Bevcom and all the other providers that are out there already then?
Yeah, primarily they're targeting the underserved areas, but there could be some, there definitely will be some overlap as to where those providers will go into.
What do you know about this Bug Tussle? How long have they been in existence?
They've been in business for over 20 years. I mean, they've been doing projects with municipalities for probably the last 10 of that. In some of their more remote locations in eastern, northeast Wisconsin, they started doing this. And then 3 years ago, they offered it's called the ROAD program, where they do projects like this with other counties, like full fiber builds with towers and selling digital fixed wireless. That's where I said there's about 15 counties that have done it and another 5, 6 that are in the process of considering it.
How did Taylor County, because they're all county owned.
Yep.
It's the whole county. So how do they make it work? And do you feel like rural Wisconsin is getting targeted because we don't have access? I mean, what is the comparison if they were to build in Madison versus up here?
I don't know if I can answer the last one. I know a little bit about Taylor County.
Mhm.
So, and Bug Tussle's in Taylor County now. So what Taylor County did before Bug Tussle even offered up this type of proposal is Taylor County issued like $12 million worth of debt, and they decided to build their own fiber around the county. And I mentioned it last week at Public Safety. That's an option for us if we wanted to. We could build all of our own infrastructure. So Taylor County put their fiber in, and then Bug Tussle came around, and then they contracted with Bug Tussle to do the actual towers and selling to the consumers. And then I don't know their financial arrangement, but Bug Tussle uses the county's fiber. And then the county's fiber also supports other direct fiber to the home in areas that there's providers that want to do it. Because I don't think Taylor County is doing any actual sales to the consumer. They built the backbone, and then they brought in other companies to manage it and run it and do the retail transactions.
Can you give a comparable for next meeting, or do we have time for that? If we were to do it on our own.
To build the
like
fiber
Taylor.
ourselves?
Yep.
I can try. I don't know.
Because I think what happens is if we don't, we keep having this conversation of what provider, what are we going to do? Why are the areas unserved? If we could make sure and have a concrete plan for the constituents of all of Sawyer County
Yep.
to have that knowledge that they are going to be provided because it's a county project instead of us relying on other companies.
Right. What I did do too last week is got this out to Norvado, Bevcom, Mosaic to say, hey, this is what we're looking at, because they have been good partners with us. I didn't want them to get, be uninformed, but also to say, here's what we're looking at. Is there because on one hand, it could be viewed as competition for them, and it is going to be competition for them. On the other hand, is there ways for them to leverage this infrastructure for their own territories?
Tussles.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I think that they could sell fixed wireless to people that could be consumers of, yeah.
Well, competition's always good. I mean, just on the Taylor County thing, it sounds like they quasi are in the business of it. I mean, they started it with the infrastructure, but then they in essence outsourced
Right. Because
beyond that.
I would say 5 years maybe. They looked at where they were at with internet. They realized they were one of the most underserved counties. Their providers weren't there. So the county decided themselves to get into business and
I would have to think that's more expensive. I mean, it could be used as leverage to to get a better deal, but I always lean towards outsourcing everything, but some people think that's
Right.
going overboard, but
Oh, I mean, part of it, I don't, get too big of a conversation. It's part of it philosophical is what's the role of the county? Is it to be in the business or to provide support to people who are in the business or to stay out of the business altogether? I don't know. I mean, I can speak for my own, when I was in Rusk County and this came out, it was still pretty early and I didn't feel comfortable going to the board asking to use 15 million of borrowing capacity. Now that it's been out there a couple of years, and this is the conversation I have with my colleagues, people are feeling a little more comfortable because it's been done in other counties now and it's working. They're selling broadband and they're have the tower sites. I thought it made sense to bring it up now just because we're going to need, we're going to need tower sites for our radio network. Is there a way to cut some of our out-of-pocket costs, but also find multiple benefits? But still, there's risk to us. Maybe not as much cash out the door, but there still will be risk in this type of project.
Andy, by using our bonding capacity, does that have any negative effect on other projects you might have?
No, I mean, and use of our bonding capacity has come up a couple times in the last few weeks. So I didn't calculate where we're at now. As of last year, though, we had capacity to borrow up to 225 million. It's 5% of your equalized value is how much a county or any municipality can issue in debt in Wisconsin. So of the 225 million, we're using roughly 11 million right now primarily for this project. So it's not as, it's the risk of if they go default and we have to pick up the debt service, we'll have to do that. But it's not going to impact us doing any other projects. We don't have anything else on the horizon where we're going to use any significant capacity. Anything we issue going forward for our capital improvements, we're almost at the point where whatever we issue, we pay back in the same year. So there's no negative component there. I don't think it would reduce our bond rating, how much our interest rate is. And in this scenario, at least we do get a little bit of revenue back every year for use of our capacity.
Anything else on that? Any outside committee updates? Steve?
Yes, on May 15th, I attended the Northwest SEP Board of Directors meeting in Ashland. And the big item of discussion there was the budget shortfall they're facing right now. Their fiscal year starts July 1st and they'll be okay then, but getting from now until then is a bit of an issue, and there's a possibility they may be requesting a little advance, if you will, on next year's county's contributions to their work. And they're also looking ahead at reducing their expenses. They've been using Wifley for their accounting purposes, and they're going to do their accounting in-house. They're not pleased with the results they're getting from Wifley. They're not getting the reports they want in a timely fashion, et cetera. They're also looking at reduced IT costs going forward because apparently they've been a little higher, up until now. And income, they're looking to increase some income by proposing the fiscal agent fee they charge, or they're proposing an increase in the fiscal agent fee they charge WIB, the Workforce Investment Board. So, in another meeting I attended on May 18th was the Northern Waters Library Services Board of Trustees meeting in Ashland. And I learned they've got some compliance issues at libraries in Iron River and Cable. But it sounds like they're going to work through those things. They're also looking at a proposed integrated library system merger with Wisconsin Valley Library System. And the Board of Trustees also approved a member county appropriation increase of 3% for next year. So upcoming meetings, tomorrow I've got a Northwest SEP orientation meeting in Ashland. On June 19th, there's another SEP Board of Directors and a consortium meeting. And then on the 24th of June, there's an Indian Head Community Action Agency meeting in Ladysmith.
Thanks for going to those. I know it takes a lot of time, so that's an insightful update, and I appreciate you doing that. Historical Society, I don't think anybody's here for that. Any future agenda items that need to be discussed? 19 is correspondence reports and conference meetings, Uniquely Wisconsin. Andy.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to give you a heads up. If you've seen in the Wisconsin Counties magazine or any communications over the last few years, you may have seen Uniquely Wisconsin. It's a partnership between WCA and Discover Wisconsin. Familiar with Discover Wisconsin, they have like the half-hour episodes. Hayward Lakes did one of those last year. Yep. And so I think kind of coming out of COVID and ARPA, Uniquely Wisconsin was put together, allowing counties to sign on to do a Uniquely Wisconsin episode, which highlights, it's less about tourism for the community, more about highlighting people, the culture, that type of thing. So I'm not sure where they're at for the number of counties, but they were here last month, met with myself, in the EDC, about putting an episode together. So they're going to be coming back with a full proposal and pulling in some partners. So just want to give you a heads up. From the standpoint, if you see anything, you can find the episodes that have been done on YouTube. You can take a look and see if that's something that would interest you. It would be a significant investment. I don't remember how much Hayward Lakes paid. Is it 60? Yeah. I think Uniquely is a little more than that, but the approach that has been discussed amongst the partners is to bring in multiple partners, not just the county, to do one of these episodes.
In Discover's tourism, the intent of this is to get people to move to Wisconsin, to
Yeah.
stay here.
I don't want to say it's not tourism, but it's less tourism oriented than the Discover Wisconsin episodes. I think to me, it's just another brand that Discover Wisconsin has come up with. You're still selling your community. You're still highlighting the unique features and the unique people that make up the county. So
it's like a come to Wisconsin. I mean, who's the audience for
it'd be
this?
about Sawyer County.
Be coming to Sawyer County,
Yep.
but they do it then throughout the state, and this would
This gets
air.
Yep.
I mean, again, it's to get people to want to move here,
Move and visit, I would say.
move and visit.
Yep.
Okay. We could do a whole episode on, well, not us. I guess that'd be a state issue for income taxes.
I think the format I've seen in some other counties is they take a unique individual, somebody that's really, when you say Sawyer County, you think of this person, they do like a third of the episode on them. There's usually 3 segments, so a third on an individual, a third on a business or establishment, and then maybe a third on an activity to do while you're here. So I put it on there so you can start to, if you see that Uniquely Wisconsin, maybe you'll pay more attention to it.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
The farmer's market is now open.
Right now.
Yes.